Hello and welcome to this week's Truth Be Told, a show about all things local to Plymouth Town government. Our host and the town manager, Melissa Arrighi. Again, this week I have Jonathan Beater on, our Director of Public Works. And if you watch the show at all, you know that we're doing a whole series where we're meeting all of JB's different division heads and all the divisions that he oversees. In terms of the show, if you ever have a question or a topic you would like me to discuss on the show, or even a guest you would like me to have on, please let me know. I'm very reachable. You can you can call me, you can email me, you can even get me on social media. So feel free to reach out. Today, we are going to be talking to the Wastewater Manager, Doug Pinard, as well as JB. Now, I want to let everybody know, I've had a lot of guests on this show already since we started this, and most of them I know very well because I've been here a long time, but I'm kind of excited about today because I don't know Doug all that well. Doug has come up through the ranks, and I'm almost going to be learning as much as many of the viewers do today. So Doug, I'm really happy to have you, and JB, it's always great to see you. I know that you're dealing with a couple of crises this morning. So if you all of a sudden have to get out and come back on the screen, we're great with that. Just make sure you mute that mic so not everybody can know how hectic your morning is going. So Doug, talk to us a little bit about your background, your professional background, and what led you to want to elevate to the wastewater manager position?
Well, I've been in this field over 20 years. Most of my career was in the town of Fairhaven. I moved up to the ranks there as just even as a laborer, to a truck driver, to a maintenance craftsman, which was part of the collection system, onto an operator, and managing my own treatment plant, small package plant. I moved on from there and went to a few other municipalities, always trying to better myself. Over the years, I've accumulated many licenses, including Class A and hydraulics. I got my wastewater 7. I've got my drinking water licenses and treatment water licenses. So as I've progressed through my career, I've always tried to better myself. So there was an opportunity here in Plymouth. I've met with JB and he's given me a great opportunity to join the town.
I forgot we had that Fairhaven connection.
Yes.
So on the show, we couldn't gossip a little bit about Fairhaven because, boy, you know, when you're from some of these smaller communities, it's probably any size community, the talk that goes on about all the different things. And of course, when I'm in Fairhaven, I try and stay as far away from town politics as I can. But
I don't blame you.
Yeah,
I don't blame you.
Tell me about these licenses, because the DPW director has always been a huge proponent and advocate for formal training, certifications, licenses, their importance, learning the newest things. How much time and what is the commitment for these licenses that you've received over the years to be in this position?
Well, it's a huge commitment because we're always learning and we have to do continuing education. Every year we have to renew and we have to have so many hours per year per license, which keeps us up to date on new things that are going on, new technology, and just being educated on the ever-changing permit requirements and things like that. So it's a huge commitment and it takes a lot of time to accumulate these licenses and experience. But it's important to do these things, to be up to date, just so that our ultimate goal is, as town employees, we're working for the taxpayer, but we want to try to do the right thing and keep things clean and basically put clean water back into the environment. So it's a sometimes thankless job. A lot of times people would rather pay more on their cell phone bill than infrastructure, and infrastructure in this country isn't looked upon as that too important, I feel. So we have a field that's very important.
And I think that you may be right. Certainly the job can be thankless, but I'm thanking you now because I know what an important role that you have here, and I know JB does as well. Now we have, we've had definitely our troubles and our challenges when it comes to our wastewater treatment plant, but tell us a little bit about, maybe not statistics, that's not the right word, JB. What am I thinking of? Like want you to tell the viewers about, our number of users, and that the plant is, the 3 million gallons a day at our peak capacity and what we are at. Give us a little bit of that tech speak without being too technical.
Very good. So again, good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure to be back on your show, Melissa. Thank you. And Doug's been a great asset, and we've been through tremendous change on the sewer side since Gary retired, and then just the transitioning from Veolia to Woodard. But basically, the town built a new wastewater treatment plant on Camelot Drive back in 2000. That's a 3 MGD facility. 1.75 goes to the ocean outfall, and then the rest goes to the beds. So that's part of our permit. We have a little over 3,000 customers. We have about 3,300 customers on the sewer side. Compared to water, we have over 15,000. So there's a very interesting dynamic between water and sewer. Most of the sewer customers are downtown, West Plymouth, easterly of Route 3 there. So that's really the density in terms of sewer connections. We've done a couple of sewer extensions over the years. We've worked with the Board of Health for a fog program, trying to get that established. But basically, we have a very small system. Yes.
Tell everybody what a fog program is, because for that average viewer, they're thinking fog. What does fog have to do with the treatment?
Sure. I'm trying to be a little bit vague so people tune in all the time and keep on watching the show. It's going to kind of lead them on. But it's fats, oils, and greases, and it's really driven by businesses and restaurants that cook. And if it's not contained, it gets into our sewer lines and it really hardens up, which is problematic for us. So we've been trying to address that issue over the past couple of years. But basically for us, sewer, it's a great benefit for the community. It helps with economic development. It sustains all the downtown businesses and restaurants. And as everybody knows, tourism is a big part of Plymouth. So the wastewater treatment plant is a huge deal. The other thing we're working on now, Doug and I, is at the airport wastewater treatment plant. We're trying to, rejuvenate and rehab that facility and do some sewer extension down in the South Meadow area. So there's always a lot going on the sewer side.
So when we think about our projects that we have coming up for sewer, because I will tell you, Doug, that town meeting members in Plymouth, town meeting representatives, if we can show them need and we show them what Plymouth has to have, and we make sure our enterprise fund is self-sustaining, and once in a while we need help from the general fund, but not often. Our enterprise funds are in good shape. They have been very supportive about projects. So between the two of you, can you tell me a little bit about what your plans are? All things relevant. In other words, like if things fit in perfectly for sewer expansion, where are some of the locations that you would be looking to do that in town? And also, what are some of the other big sewer projects that we have planned besides the airport treatment plant, which, just to let the public know, we are funding that through the ARPA. The selectmen have approved that through what's called ARPA funds, which is some federal funding that's been made available to communities for infrastructure.
Doug, if you want to take that, go right ahead and I'll fill in if need be.
I'm sure that JB, you do a great job, and you probably know better than I, but we have that Water Street Interceptor. That's going to be a huge undertaking that I'm excited to be about with the micro drilling and things like that. We have the Water Street pump station, the wall that we're looking in there for flooding. That's going to be a huge thing. That's our main lift station. We have many projects going on in town with Oasis or Colony Place that we're always overseeing. We have what other projects do we have, JB, besides the airport?
Yeah, so I'll jump right in.
Camelot Drive.
Yeah.
There's another one that we're in for the sewer expansion that we're in the middle of right now. Another project is the groundwater discharge permitting that we're looking at. So very busy on the sewer side.
A little bit more detail, Melissa, for the viewers and everybody listening, because I think it's good to understand. So the sewer interceptor project is we're looking to relocate the 30-inch gravity sewer from the beach. And that section of pipe is really from the T Wharf to DCR. We're looking to bring that into Water Street. So the select board approved that ARPA funding request. And as Doug mentioned, a flood barrier wall around Water Street Pump Station. Water Street Pump Station is really the heart of the system. All of the flow, 95% of the flow, it's about 1.5 million gallons a day, flows by gravity to Water Street Pump Station. Then it's pumped up to Camelot Drive. We want to protect that pump station with a wall. So that was voted by the board. As Doug mentioned, Camelot Drive sewer extension. We got design money from town meeting a couple of years ago. We're looking at a cost estimate of around $7 million. So we're going to be looking for a request from the county money. in terms of, funding that through additional stimulus. Doug mentioned the permitting. We're looking to address concerns with the ocean outfall and aquaculture, and looking to permit all the flow to the beds and have discussions into the future in terms of how we modify the town's discharge permit and kind of address concerns with the harbor. We've been working with the FDA and DMF and the Harbor Committee on that issue for the past several months, so that's going to be ongoing. We also have a CMOM program. It's really a maintenance and operation program where we line, we jet, we clean all the mains. That was part of an EPA order that we kind of went through about 8 years ago. So we always go to town meeting, usually every other year for money for that. So we'll be back at the spring town meeting requesting funding for that. We are really looking at an anaerobic digester at the plant to offset our costs. I see Melissa smiling. So we're trying to get that ready for town meeting. It's a lot of administrative work, a lot of language, because that would be a long-term lease at the project, at the site, where we want somebody to come in and do like a design, build, operate, where the town can reap the rewards of that financially, whether we do a pilot agreement, a host community agreement. There's a lot of interest in that region-wide. So as Doug mentioned, there's a lot of big projects happening. And Springtown meeting, hopefully we're kind of quiet on that. We've done a lot of capital over the years, and we have a lot of projects. So I don't think we'll have anything major. The only thing we have will probably be the anaerobic digester.
You know what? And you're going to need some time. You're going to need some time to do these projects. I mean, as I think about ones that will impact the public, maybe not so much the Camelot extension, although I know how busy Camelot Drive is, but maybe that won't have the same impact as those two projects on Water Street, both the Interceptor as well as the retaining wall or the protective wall that you want to build. JB, what do you anticipate will be the effect on traffic and pedestrian walking in the area while those projects are going on? And what's the timeline? I mean, we've talked about this internally. I'm almost petrified to reopen up Water Street because of what happened last time when we did it. And what did you call it that I learned about? The artesian effect as the water came up and the tides changed. So tell us about the inconvenience to the public for ultimately a great project.
Yeah, great question, great conversation, and that we're fully aware of addressing the impacts and educating everybody as far as process. So we're looking at two options in terms of relocating the interceptor. One is just an open cut, and then the other I think we're really leaning to is called a micro tunnel, where you do two pits and we drill underneath. So it's really far less of an inconvenience, and that's really the preferred option. But we're going through design now. We will do outreach and we'll go back and update the board and we'll get all that information out. We're looking to bid the project sometime in December, November timeframe, so we can get it done this winter. And again, we really want to accelerate schedule and work, 24-hour shifts to get it done. But in terms of inconvenience, we're hoping to keep one lane of traffic open. It will not look like it did the last time in 2012 when we were out there, Melissa, in terms of shutting the road down, the artesian effect, the groundwater. We're looking to really have full control of this project and really mitigate and address any concerns when it comes to traffic or any inconvenience downtown. We know how important that is to everybody. Right.
I know my dentist is down there, and boy, when I'm in that position where I can't talk, he lets me know if it's inconvenience traffic in any way.
It's going to be an awesome project in terms of the technical part of it, in terms of having a company come in and bore underground and pull the pipe. It's going to be fascinating to watch. I'm sure some of the schools will be interested. The businesses downtown. It's going to be a great project once we get it going.
JB, have you done a project like that before?
I used to work for Modern Continental in downtown Boston, and we used to use a German company that did micro tunneling. I've been around it. I've seen it. The only thing close to that is when we did the Bradford Zone water expansion, where we did a directional drill underneath the brook on Russell Mills. But this will be a lot more in terms of scope, in terms of size of pipe and complexity. It's going to be great to watch.
Doug, how about you? Have you done a project like this?
No, it's huge. I'm excited about it and nervous, because of what I've heard about the last time it went on. But I'm excited to be part of it and to witness that. I think that we're going to try to keep the impact low. I think like JB mentioned that it's kind of going to be on during the off season, so maybe hopefully that will help with some traffic down there. But the micro drilling, yeah, that's an exciting project.
I want to talk a little bit about the outfall pipe, because as long as I have worked here, just as a regular layman, it always amazes me how much we we discharge of treated effluent, clean water that goes out into the outfall pipe into our harbor, rather than building more of those infiltration beds. But that's complicated, even when you talk about it, and I don't know if we can quickly cover it on the show, but the infiltration beds, one could argue, could have an impact on another area. So what do you think the challenges are in actually changing this permit? And should we extinguish the ability to use the outfall pipe completely?
My opinion is I would not get rid of the outfall. It's a great asset. Yes, we're looking into going permanently to groundwater discharge, but to extinguish the use of the outfall would be a mistake. It's great would be, even if we did decide to go to permanent groundwater discharge, that would be a great asset to have in case of emergency. Obviously, it's always treated effluent, and we're trying to do what's best for Plymouth. And groundwater discharge has its own challenges, and sometimes we would need that outfall regardless. But to say to get rid of it would be a mistake.
Now, what's interesting about this show that hasn't happened in the past is I can hear, I think it's your staff.
Yes.
Is that what I'm hearing? So
Yes.
I'm hearing, and it's funny because I'm hearing them on the phone, probably with a customer or a resident of the town, and they're talking about flow and discharge and all the things that we're talking about on the show. So who are you working with right now?
You hear it's a taxpayer calling in, talking to my secretary Anna, and she's going over the permit process and how we calculate flow for charging, whether it be a restaurant or a new development or something like that.
So a brand new person building a home in the town could be calling you, working with your assistant to say, how much is it going to charge me to be part of the sewer system? How much is it going to charge? How much is it going to cost me to connect and hook up? And I believe we have both. Is it sewer entrance fees, JB?
Sewer entrance fees, sewer bank, yes. What is it? 10,
Well, then I won't put you on the spot and make you calculate an example. To imagine that some of those conversations are a little more difficult than others.
well, that's it. Just real quick to comment. We've been through this, and we have done so much work on all the different divisions in DPW. Melissa, remember we addressed sewer bank because it was too expensive. It was slowing down development. We redid our whole comprehensive wastewater master plan with the board. We dropped the rate from 16 to 10 to promote development. We did mandatory connections. We did sewer betterments. We have done so much work on the sewer side too. You forget how much we've done. It's really incredible.
Yeah, no, I would agree. Doug, you know what I'm going to have you do though, just as a favor, can you, just when I don't have you speaking, can you mute, only because we can so hear her conversation.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So no, that's okay.
Yeah.
JB, I want to talk a little bit about anaerobic digestion again, because you and I know that since we've started working together, we have both really wanted this for the town. You have room for it on Camelot Drive. We think we can build this at very little cost to the community, but what will it do? Walk me through how it will truly help us, besides financially.
Yeah, that's another great point. So it will help us in terms of generating revenue to offset sewer enterprise or the general fund. And what I mean by that is when we transitioned from Veolia to Woodard and Curran, a lot of it was about more transparency with budgets and accountability. And we did a lot of what's called pass-throughs. So now the town covers directly the costs of electricity, sludge disposal, a lot of ins and outs in terms of running the operation. Anaerobic digestion, Melissa, I don't want to talk about the financials, but it will provide electricity at the meter. It will offset our sludge disposal costs, and it will allow for us to get rid of potential food waste in the community. So there's a number of environmental benefits. All of this, which will really sustain the operation way into the future. I'm talking 50 to 100 years. And again, you mentioned, we have the perfect zoning, we have great site, we have immediate access off of Route 3, and this is more of a regional type of option. So we look at it locally, we look at it regionally, but there's so many benefits to an anaerobic digester. The other important piece is the technology's changed. We've been looking at this for years now. We've had multiple grants for feasibility analysis and study. We've done 3 of them actually to pinpoint and to really hone in on the benefits of our site, our plant, and the town of Plymouth. but we could start slow and the sky's the limit with an AV here in Plymouth. It's definitely something very exciting.
So for the restaurants, they would collect all their food waste separately. That would be picked up or brought to, it doesn't matter that level of detail. It would be brought to the anaerobic digestion facility. What about the residential homeowner?
Yeah, I mean, residential homeowner, what's interesting about Plymouth, we've been through the trash thing. There's a lot of different haulers out there, but we have to start small. We have to start with a program. We get rid of the food waste in the businesses downtown, the schools. Those are some of the bigger drivers, the bigger contributors. We'd start there. And then hopefully someday we'd have a food waste program for the entire town. Some type of drop off, some type of collection. And again, there's huge benefits behind that. A, it would reduce the cost for these homeowners and businesses in terms of disposal, because paying for food waste disposal makes no sense.
Mm-hmm.
And if we could provide power and provide other abilities at the wastewater treatment plant using that waste in those products, it's a win-win.
JB, who has one now? What community?
We've been talking to the town of Yarmouth. They're looking to construct one. Locally, there's a couple, more of the technologies out west, Melissa. There's not too many around here. I know working with Covanta, they have a couple in Connecticut that are working. Hartford's one of them. So in terms of regionally around here, not many. We really want to set the pace.
That's right. Wouldn't it be fantastic if Plymouth is able to do that? Doug, I'm gonna have you unmute, because before we wrap up this show, I need some words of wisdom. I need you to remind the public how they can help us improve our own sewer system.
Well, one of the things that I'd like to touch base on is like JB had mentioned, to get back to the digester and the fog, the fats, oils, and grease. That's a big issue, not only for Plymouth, but everywhere. And a digester would be great to solve some of those issues with the fog issues that we have here in this community and many others. So that would be a revenue to take on. But as far as some words of wisdom for the future of our wastewater system here in Plymouth and the treatment plant is, you got to be mindful, what you put into the sewer system. A lot of stuff out there is, commercials and stuff. They say, we have issues with what we call rags. So, especially with COVID and people using their hand wipes and all that stuff. And you have to be careful what you put into your sewer system, because it's detrimental to the plant. So, that's same thing, grease and stuff like that. Try to keep containers for the taxpayers. You just got to be mindful what you put into your sewer system, because it affects
I'm going to
everyone.
be a little more blunt than you. Flushable aren't necessarily flushable. And
Yes.
when you're scooping out the kitty litter box, that's not necessarily made to be going down into the public sewer system. So I think that if we can get people to just be a little bit more careful about what they're flushing down their toilet, it wasn't really meant to be a garbage disposal. I think that it will go a long way for helping some of the problems that we see in the community. And trust me, when you get those phone calls about the backup that happens at some of the residential places or others, it's terrible for everybody. So I think
Absolutely.
so we can avoid it, we should. Now, I think that there was some proposed legislation, or what was it? I think it was maybe one of your professional groups that was advocating against even having those flushable wipes available anymore.
Yes, that was a big thing through many of the groups, the MW, the PCA. There was many talks with COVID, basically trying to outlaw those from being flushable, because they were causing just many backups. They get clogged in pumps at your lift stations. So you got caused backups at your lift stations, which causes backup into your main, which causes backup into the house. So everybody was using them, so it was becoming a big problem.
Well, if there's anybody that we helped today to stop using them, I'm proud of that. To the two of you, I want to thank you for coming on. JB, I know I'm going to see you again next week, but Doug, I think it was great that you came on. People get to see your face, know a little bit about what you do, and I'd love to have you both on. Well, not JB is going to stay on this often, but I'd love to have you on again in the future. Certainly, there's enough to talk about as these projects get started.
Anytime.
So as we wrap up the show, I just want to talk about one last thing. Sometimes I do a 1620 spotlight, and right now there's so much attention in so many different communities, Plymouth included, on redistricting and what is going to happen with precinct locations, polling locations, what precinct do you belong to? Please, I ask all of you, if you have a question for the town clerk, want to come into town hall, look at the maps that we've put out prior to this going to the select board meeting, please reach out. We try and be really available to you. We know this is an important subject and one that for many of you is kind of near and dear, especially if your polling location or precinct may change. So we're happy to help serve you. Pearl Sears, the town clerk, has worked a lot on this project, and we've even brought back former town clerk Lawrence Pizer to help us. So we are available. If you have questions, please reach out. That is going to do it for today. Thank you everybody for watching, and we'll see you next week on Truth Be Told.